All right, solving a two-step equation with integers, this is a little bit different in that instead of just one thing happening to the variable, there's more than one thing happening to the variable. So like we can see in this one, for instance, that y is being multiplied by 3 and 5 is being added to it. And so the rhythm that I prefer, and again, there are different ways to go about doing this, the way that I prefer to do this is to first get the variable by itself on one side with no other numbers, and then deal with what's happening to the variable directly. So what I mean by that is I see that I could divide by 3 here, which would create a bunch of nasty fractions, which I don't want to do. What I could do instead is subtract 5, and that would leave everything as whole numbers, and I very much prefer that. So I'm going to go ahead and say my first step here is going to be to subtract 5 from both sides. Because we're adding 5, the inverse of adding 5 is to subtract 5. That will give me negative 12 equals 3y, because 5 minus 5 is 0. Now when I do the division by 3 here, it's going to come out to be a whole number, which will make me much happier than if I had done the division first and ended up with a bunch of fractions. Negative 12 divided by 3 is going to be negative 4 is equal to y. All right, 19 is equal to 5 plus 2w. Now again, I could divide by 2 here, but it's just going to create a bunch of fractions. I don't want to do that. I very much would prefer to get the variable by itself first on one side. So I see a positive 5, I'm going to subtract 5. 19 minus 5 is going to give me 14. 5 minus 5 is nothing, and then, or 0, and then we are still left with a 2w. I see I'm multiplying by 2. I need to divide by 2 to do the inverse operation there. That's going to give me 7 is equal to w. Okay, we have negative 2 is equal to 3w plus 7. Again, I could divide by 3, but that would be a terrible idea because I would end up with fractions all the way through this thing, and I don't want that. What I'm going to do instead is recognize that we're adding 7. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. That will give me negative 9 on the left is equal to 3w. We'll divide by 3 because w is being multiplied by 3. We get negative 3 is equal to w. All right, do a couple more. We have 18 is equal to negative 7 plus 5w. And as I've mentioned before, I could divide by 5 at this point, but it would create a bunch of fractions. I don't want to do that. So I see that we have a negative 7 there. We're going to do the inverse of that by adding 7 to both sides. We get 25 is equal to 5w. We see 5 is being multiplied by w. We need to do the inverse of that, which is to divide by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 5 is equal to w. One more. This is a unique looking one. We have 7 is equal to 3 plus u over 4. So there's a couple things I could do here. I could go ahead and multiply everything by 4, which is actually what I'll teach you to do in a later lesson. But for the purpose of today, we'll go ahead and leave the variable alone, get it by itself first. And so what we're going to do is notice that we are adding 3. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides, giving us 4 is equal to u divided by 4. We see that we're dividing by 4, so we need to multiply by 4 on both sides. That gives me 16 is equal to 4u over 4. And I can see that 4 divided by 4 is going to make 1. So 16 is equal to 1u, or just u.